Hey guys, Dave here from Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds, hanging out with some of the colleagues.
I'm Ted.
I'm Nate.
And today we have a viewer request, GM 911. It's not. It doesn't seem like a GM 911 because it doesn't. It's not like as specific or pressing. It's just like their style of playing, what's going on from Simon G. Basically, he's the DM. Sounds like they started in 4th edition, or at least they're playing a lot of 4th edition. They moved over to the 5th edition, and the problem he has is, every conflict his players want to handle 9 out of 10 times with violence, and it's what they seem to want to focus on in the game.
Well, there's a couple different avenues. Number one is he might need to step back and let somebody else run for a little while. If you're interested in a certain style of game and your players are not, maybe you need to take a break from GMing. It's one of those things that not every GM's playing style is going to mesh with a group of players' playing style.
And in that respect, if he wants to see that more in his gaming group, he should portray that more in his gaming group. So, be the philosophical fighter or the cleric who, is more of a pacifist than, let's go kill these people and do whatever.
Oh, absolutely.
And Nate made a good point off camera, which is kind of similar to what you said, that it's like, if that's what they want to play, that's what they want to play. Yeah. They may have no other interest. But another thing is, in touching on what you said, portray the thing you want to see in your game, is like, I'm a firm proponent of training your players, right? You got to train them how to play. So, and you can't expect them to go from one style of play to another, like flipping a switch. You can always have a conversation with them and be like, this is what I'm looking for, how do you feel about it? 2, you can just slowly start integrating things in their game. Give them better rewards for solutions that don't involve violence. Like, if they focus on mechanics, well, mechanically, inspire them to find another solution because they're going to get better stuff out of the deal. Or offer them conflicts where violence actually doesn't solve the problem.
Or creates a larger problem, like an angry dragoon or something.
In
the extreme case.
If there's an enemy knight who they're choosing not to roleplay with, and it's definitely designed as a role-playing encounter, make him significantly more powerful than the players, have him shut them down and walk away without killing them. They've been dropped, they're at 0, whatever have you. Leave the cleric for last so you can put them back together, whatever method you want to do. But there's nothing wrong with beating your players down to let them know that fighting is not always the answer. This guy did it to me 15 years ago with a giant's club to the body. So
and it killed you.
It did kill me.
Well, there's significant differences. You actually die.
Well, yeah. Well,
in 5th edition, it's really easy. Like, you can just choose this to do down. I like Ted's example of the Dark Knight character who just basically lays about them with his stick of womp and just knocks them all unconscious or silly. And really, like, if they're 3rd level, make him 15th, and like they don't actually stand a chance. Like, he's got so many hit points, you could actually describe their attacks that are hitting. Even the crits is not actually even drawing blood. Maybe they just
mocking laughter at their attempts.
Maybe they push him around a little bit or nick him. But that was a crit, and I rolled max damage. Well, hey, it's only like 1% of his hit points. He's not really impressed. Oh, and by the way, he just slammed the flat of the blade of his longsword down on your cranium, and you're unconscious. Because he also critted.
No, he didn't crit. He just smited your ass.
Yeah, so like I said, you train your players to do what you want them to do.
Yeah, I have to say that's a pretty big stick to hit your players with, is the super powerful thing that they've got to fight.
Well, I mean,
that they don't have to fight, but they do.
When you're doing this type of thing, if you're doing it properly, it's a lesson that's gonna sink home. It was 15, 18 years ago that you womped on Tull, and I still recall the exact description of what he what he did, my misinterpretation of crashing through the trees. Like, I've got the verbiage down. It's sunk home. It's like, well, so you don't have to fight everything. I was a bloodthirsty player that night, and I tried to attack everything.
Well, it worked out great for you. You got plenty of blood.
Oozing from all orifices, and
It just happened to be
including new tears. and
It
holes.
happened to be coming out of my broken bones and body. So, I mean, if it's possible to sink in, mayhaps you'll do things in such a way that you can train these guys that, okay, well, that's not always going to work. That you can't always go for violence. And the fact that they're still alive means that they'll sit back and rethink the scenario. Give, as I said, give the whatever you're going to use to stomp on them, make it be, make him role play while he's beating them, so that they get the extra. Well, wait a second. Why is there so much role playing going on during this combat that we're losing?
Lead by example.
Another suggestion is believably remove the person that they could cause harm to away from the situation. I hired my players to go down and take care of a dungeon that the mage was only one floor up, and he's the one that hired them. It just kind of worked out that way. And they're going to get an item back for him. Well, as soon as they closed the door and went downstairs, he left partial payment and left the area, and he was gone. So when they come up after 8 hours or so after they got barely won, and not after 8 hours, they accidentally set the place on fire and had to run all the way out of it.
Oops.
So I mean, he wasn't there to contest with. So the person that they were like, yeah, we're pretty sure this guy's evil. We should probably just kill him and take the money when we get back up there. Well, that plan's gone because the guy's gone. Legitimately. He was like, I'm not staying here. And they ended up burning the place down. So it was pretty good that he didn't stay there. But that kind of mentality of, you're thinking in the back of your mind, can I remove the person out of the situation that they're going to try and one-up me on by killing him rather than interacting with him legitimately? Not be the 20th level innkeeper or the 20th level retired fighter blacksmith that they want to steal money from. But legitimately, what's the situation where this person does I have an exit plan, because it's a harsh world, so this guy had an exit plan for that kind of scenario, so he left as soon as they were occupied, while a guy at the inn, well, maybe he has a son or a friend, or a son's a friend has a son and they watch the place for him, and he might just be I don't know, a retired soldier or something like that, because he did his service. So there's a reason why there's a third or fourth level fighter, with one second level players. There's a reason there's a third or fourth level fighter around, because he's a trained combat expert for that area, because everyone else is tavern people and that stuff like that.
That gave me another idea. If they're constantly, dropping and killing these other people that they're supposed to be role playing with, is it possible that your players are making the first action? Are they technically committing murder? You could have the law brought in against them and have them put on trial, where you're on trial for murder. You don't have any weapons. There's no chance for violence unless you guys want to totally be, unless they're going to go completely evil. And now you've got a completely different game,
Right, and fight the watch or whatever.
right? And
I don't want to bring. I did bring up a few examples that suggest that they're killing townsfolk and stuff. That didn't come up, but I'm assuming that that kind of mentality of what's the survivability of those people if they don't have a way of getting out of a situation. Hey, we're going to fight you instead of talk to you.
Well, the other thing too is what if what if you need to break a curse, and the wizard that initiated the curse has to be brought back alive, because part of breaking the curse involves him. So you can't just kill him. Now you can beat him up, but you still have to take him prisoner. But and maybe make them travel for a couple weeks or months even with this guy, bringing them back to the kingdom. Because if you kill him, this curse will continue and horrible things will happen, and basically you just destroyed the kingdom or whatever. And if it gets out, then you may actually be hunted by someone because they want revenge.
Right.
They actually see it more your fault than the wizard's fault at this point. But during that trek back, why not have role playing with them? Why not have them offer them things and try and bribe them and be like, what do you care about that kingdom? I can grant you 3 wishes like a genie, or but anyway, it just creates avenues for interaction. What if maybe a powerful creature has an item that the players need, and that's what their quest is, and they can't just kill it and take the item. They have to figure out how to steal it or persuade them to give it to them,
or find something else to trade.
Yeah, right.
If you're going to talk to a dragon, the dragon's not going to just part with his rod of wonder. He wants something equally as cool.
Right. So these are all things that you start introducing in your game, and don't do it all at once. Do it slowly. Pick a set piece per game. And see how they respond. If they do a little bit better with it, increase it. Start using tricks and puzzles in your game, and riddles and stuff like that, where you actually can't just hit it with a sword or cast a spell on it.
And I'd say the marker for when you've really succeeded is something that you would just assume was going to be absolutely a combat encounter. They actually will try and role play out of it rather than it's wait, I guess this could be diplomatic in some way. You're
right.
Scrambling, oh no, now I have to figure out how this could be diplomatic.
Think about if you have ideas in your campaign that you want them to be non-combat resolved conflicts, you need to look at it from the player standpoint as the DM and go, what is the benefit to my players to not just murdering this person to solve the problem? What do they gain by keeping them alive? What do they lose by killing them? If you can't answer those questions, you've actually failed at what you're trying to do, because you've made it more difficult for them to do the thing you want them to do,
right,
with no real reason or benefit to doing it.
Right.
In a game where we do a lot of killing and fighting. So you have to examine those things, and then from there you're going to be able to offer the carrot that the players are going to want to take.
Right.
So I think we've covered it pretty much. I mean, I bet down in the comments below you can find some other great suggestions. While you're at it, like, share, and subscribe.
You can check us out on nerdarchy.com.
You can also patronize us in a good way on Patreon.
So until next time, stay nerdy.